Oh, hello. Can we please talk about UFC 272 that happened at the weekend? By the way, I do apologise for the lateness of this video, and also it's going to be a brief one. I have managed to get coronavirus again for the second time, and yeah, I've been feeling pretty ill this week, but I thought, you know what, I need to keep to my schedule. I'm feeling marginally better after having a couple of days rest, so I'm going to go ahead and get this video done. I'll still get my picks out on Friday. And yeah, then everything will be right with the world. So let's have a quick recap of what we saw at UFC 272 and a little quick look at the news and maybe a couple of memes. A couple of cheeky memes as well. Does that sound all right? Sounds better than my voice. So yeah, let's have a look at what happened. The Burt Locker, episode 109. So, basically, what we're looking at here, well, UFC 272, we had, obviously, it was a good event. It was a good event overall. And actually, my bets weren't too bad. I only missed on a couple. Barbosa let me down. Fair play to Bryce Mitchell. I think the sky's the limit for that kid at the moment, because I thought that it would be a tough matchup for him because it was a step up in competition. Let's be realistic. Edson Barbosa is no slouch, but he was just able to dominate him, just take him down and keep him there. And obviously, we knew that if he was able to get the takedown, he was probably going to have a pretty easy night, and he was over and over again. And yeah, good decision win that, and also him donating 45 grand of his purse to charity. But Dana White's obviously stepped in and said, don't worry, don't use your money. I'll donate my money. I'm sure people will still call Dana White a cheap bastard somehow and somehow turn it into something that Dana White has done wrong. But actually, you know what? I think that's pretty nice of him. He does give lots of charity, and he doesn't really get an awful lot of credit for that because it's just too popular to hate on Dana White, isn't it? Because he's just the devil, isn't he? Yeah, so anyway, good fair play to Bryce Mitchell. He did well. Sergey Spivak was absolutely on point. I knew he would be. That was probably my pick of the week. I didn't do a pick of the week. I realised that when I watched it back. But that would have been my pick of the week. Sergey Spivak to get the finish over Greg Hardy. Like, you were getting better than even money on that, and that's almost a dead cert. And yeah, and it was. He just took him down, like basically suplexed him, just smashed him. It was brilliant. I mean, Greg Hardy, I think they're honestly going to give him another fight because he just has that name recognition from American football. So he always brings eyes to an event, which is actually a valuable commodity, to be fair. Jalen Turner, again, he looked really great. He's a real problem at 170 pounds. I want to see him versus Kevin Holland next. I'd like to see that. 170 pounds, Kevin Holland versus Jalen Turner. Put that one together. It'd be a great fight. I'd enjoy it very much. I had somebody saying online that they didn't think that Jalen Turner was really a good prospect because he's got losses on his record. It's like, I don't think you have to be undefeated to be a good prospect, honestly. I think that Jalen Turner, I think those losses are probably helpful, if nothing else. Like, I mean, let's be fair. Like, they threw him in at the deep end. His first loss in the UFC was against Vicente Luque. That is being thrown in at the deep end. And since then, I think he dropped another decision to a chap. I forget his name. I do apologise. I'm quite ill, so please, bear with me. But he did drop a decision. Since then, I think he's gone 5 unbeaten, 4 or 5 win streak, all finishes. Every single one of his wins is a finish, and that's why I like Jalen Turner. He is a finisher. He puts people away, and he did exactly that against Malaki at UFC 272. He looked just absolutely brilliant. He looked basically flawless. It was very good. And I mentioned I'd like to see Kevin Holland against Jalen Turner. Kevin Holland also looked very good against Alex Oliveira. It was a matchup that I think honestly was favourable for Kevin Holland, and I thought he was expected to win it, and he did. He passed it with flying colours. And then obviously the main event, that Colby Covington, he just looked sensational, didn't he? And we kind of knew that he would. Let's be fair. When I was saying I wanted Jorge to find the knockout just because there's some magic in that, and I think Jorge's got less time on the clock than Colby has. I think with respect, Jorge's career is probably winding down, whereas Colby's is winding up at this point, and I just think that it's really funny that, yeah, I mean, that he obviously then called out Dustin Poirier, and loads of people are talking about how, oh, Colby Covington's like he's a pussy, he's calling out like 155ers. He's like, no, look, Dustin Poirier was the one talking mad shit on Colby Covington for a while now. So no, actually it's Dustin Poirier that's been calling out Colby Covington. You know what? I don't think that's a good fight for Dustin, because Colby Covington is going to be big. I mean, the thing is, Colby Covington could probably make 155. He's not a huge hulking 170 pounder, is he? Like, I think honestly, like, I don't think size-wise, because they're saying, oh, it's the welterweight picking on the lightweight. I don't think that's true. I think that Dustin Poirier probably just cuts more weight, honestly. And also, I think that Covington wins that fight. So I'm going to, just before I go into the news, I'm going to just quickly ask you once again, please can you like, share and subscribe. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you for those that support the Patreon as well. If you're not aware, I do a Patreon as well. And yeah, just a Burt Locker on Patreon, search it, you'll find it. And basically it's just a good way to support the show. It's like £1 a month, which is, it's like buying me a can of Coke every month. You know, if you want to give me diabetes, you know, give me the diabetes, then buy me a can of Coke every month. Join the Patreon, bitches. Yeah, so yeah, anyway, thank you for your support. It really does mean the world. So yeah, like, share and subscribe, all of that. So the main thing in the news that I want to address is obviously because it follows on from all the shit that Colby Covington gets out, like even after he's won. It's like Masvidal said that it's still on site with Colby Covington. It's like, okay, well, I mean, you had 25 minutes to knock him out, to do him in, as you would say, and you didn't do it then. So what are you just saying? You need another 25 minutes? I know that street fights are completely different, but I mean, you had a good opportunity there, and I don't know. It's like the people say, yeah, no, but fighting in the streets, you know, is different, like, you know, because there aren't any rules, and you know, it's on concrete and that. So I don't know. If Colby Covington picks him up and dumps him on his head on concrete, I don't think that particularly does him any favours either, if I'm totally honest. So yeah, still on site. Good one. I mean, I wish you'd had that attitude on Sunday, buddy. But you know, I'm still a big fan of Masvidal. There's still big fights out there for him. You know, he's probably just give him someone that he can get his teeth into. Actually, you know what? I don't think Connor's a great matchup for him. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, I do look forward to seeing more of him. Brock Lesnar has closed the door on a UFC return. I mean, I don't see how that's a shock, really. He's 44 years old. And, you know, he said, look, it's a young man's game. And he's right, it is. Like, at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar already won the UFC heavyweight title. What else has he got to go back there to do? Like, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And he did say that Dana White and the Fertittas were exceptional to him. Maybe that could be the title of an article, rather than just titling every single article, Brock Lesnar complains about his pay in the UFC, which is not what he said. It's not what he said at all. Do you know what I mean? But he actually said in that interview, oh, you know, Dana White and the Fertittas were exceptional to me in my time there. But that doesn't make any headlines, does it? Because again, it's far too popular to just say that Dana White and the UFC are the devils and they're robbing all the fighters and they build their houses from the bones of orphans. It's all fucking bollocks. Do you know what I mean? Good Lord. Anyway. Also, I wasn't going to address this again, but because it's just quite a sad topic. But Cain Velasquez been denied bail. Not a massive surprise when you actually read the details of the case. Now, I'm going to prepare you here because I'm going to say some things that some people might get a little butthurt over, right? Because the thing is, I do get it, right? The rage that he must have felt, because at the end of the day, whenever children are involved and there is alleged abuse, because that's the other thing, I'll go back to that in a minute, but when there is alleged abuse on a child, that is awful. It's disgusting, and you want the person who is guilty of that to pay, right? And I completely understand Cain Velasquez's reaction, but it was a reckless reaction, and he does deserve to kind of face some repercussions for that. Because when you look at what he actually did, like, people are saying, yeah, I'd have done the exact same thing. Well, you're also a lunatic, not being funny. And also, a lot of people are saying, yeah, I'd have killed him, like, with my bare hands and blah, blah, blah. It's like, right, okay. When you're done measuring dicks, when you're done talking about how macho you are and how if something like that happened to your kid, you'd eviscerate them and tear them limb from limb, and showing how big and macho you are. Well, you remember it's actually about the kid, right? Who does that help? Does revenge like help you? Do you feel better, or does the kid feel better? Because I bet it's you, and I bet that made Cain feel better. Not being funny, that I actually, in some ways, it was a pretty selfish act, right? Because you talk about, you know, oh, he was trying to make sure it didn't happen to other kids. It's like, no, he was doing it to vent his rage, right? And the problem is, people are saying, well, you know, they let the guy out scot-free. It's like, right, but these are all allegations at this point, right? The guy might be a piece of shit. I don't know him, right? But I would say that these are allegations at this point. Like everything, all of the things against him are alleged. You know, he has been charged, not convicted, but everyone's behaving as though he has been charged, found guilty on all counts. Maybe he will. And for Cain's sake, I hope so. And, you know, and if he is guilty of it, throw the book at him. Like, you know, piece of garbage, human scum, you know. But the system that we have is that you are innocent until proven guilty. And he has at this point not been proven guilty. And the courts were following their own following the protocols. He was going to pick up his tag. He wouldn't have been allowed anywhere near anything. So, like I said, and also, you see all like the headlines, the sensationalist headlines saying, oh, you know, but the guy was wanted for 100 counts of abuse of like children. It's like, no, actually, it's one allegation. When you look at the actual like details of what's been alleged, it's one allegation. And the child in question said that they asked him how many times it happened, said hundreds. So that's where people are getting that from, right? But it's one allegation. And again, playing devil's advocate here. Like, if this person has done that to those children, throw him away, castrate him, lock him up. Join. There is no punishment too great. But what I would say is that just because something is alleged, it doesn't always turn out to be true. I'm not saying that the kid is lying. But what I'm saying is that it's not impossible that the kid has told a fib. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't fully understand the repercussions of getting somebody into trouble, right? Now, I'm not saying that that has definitely happened, but again, it needs to go through the courts to decide that. And my main point here is that in order to resolve that situation, the best way about it is not to go driving down a highway in rush hour traffic, firing an unlicensed firearm from your vehicle, right? Because what I would also ask is that people said, well, you know, okay, he shot like the wrong guy, because he shot the guy's stepfather, right? So he missed all of his shots. Like, he was aiming at the alleged predator, right? But he missed every shot. And people are saying, well, no, it's fine because look, because he was going after the alleged abuser. And it's like, okay, right. But one of those 3 shots that he missed, because he missed all 3, fired 3 shots, he missed all 3, in rush hour traffic, in the middle of the day, if one of those bullets had gone into another car with a kid in the back and killed a child, would that then be okay because he was shooting at an alleged, sexual predator or whatever? Does that make that okay? If you were the father of a kid that had been shot in that crossfire. And that's why they've had to give him some repercussions, and rightfully so, because you can't just go driving around in rush hour traffic just firing a gun out of a car. That's reckless and it's dangerous. And not enough people are saying that. And I am saying that, right? I understand why he flew off the handle. And, you know, there's justification in that, and he'll probably get a reduced sentence because of those justifications. But it doesn't mean that what he did was right, because actually he was very lucky that no one else was hurt. And yeah, it's just a very, very sad situation. And look, at the end of the day, all I can hope for is that if the gentleman in question that he was shooting at is guilty, that he gets the stiffest penalty imaginable that is allowed, and that Cain Velasquez gets the most lenient penalty that is allowed, and that is my stance on the matter. But, God, that's really brought the energy down on this podcast, hasn't it? Let's have a look at some memes, shall we? Let's have a look at some bloody memes so that we can end on a somewhat high note. I am sorry, it did really did bring the energy down, didn't it? But this one of my favourites I've ever seen. Here you go. Hazmat Chimaev. See, it's Hazmat Chimaev, but he's in a hazmat suit. The simple ones are always brilliant, aren't they? Look at the state of that. He's got a clipboard. That is absolute. I saw that, and honestly, I laughed way too hard for a grown-ass adult at something as stupid as that. But good Lord, that is funny. But yeah, and then next one I've got Conor McGregor. Basically, you've got the train coming down the tracks towards the school bus. Irish people working hard for decades to prove they're not just drunken, loudmouth idiots like the stereotypes. And then the train, of course, is Conor McGregor just shooting his mouth off, punching people in, old guys in pubs, and being a general knobhead. Good for him. That is funny, though. That is funny. It's funny and it's pretty true. And then you've got... This one made me laugh just because I was actually watching a video of Arkham Asylum. It's Joe Rogan. He looks like the henchman in an Arkham game who yells, "It's the Bat!" in a Brooklyn accent. And they're not wrong. He looks exactly like any one of those goons. I could see him getting beaten up in one of those combats. Actually, no, if Joe Rogan was one of those goons, Batman's in trouble. He's in trouble. You better believe it. Spinning bat kick. That bat suit ain't doing nothing against that spinning bat kick of Joe Rogan. And with that, I'm out of time. My voice is just about ready to go. I've managed to limit myself to like 4 coughs, which is really good. Yeah, so I'll be making my picks for Santos against Ankalaev. Obviously, smart money's on Ankalaev, but I'll go more detail into that on Friday. And yeah, so until then, keep all those odds long and keep those bets bloody terrible.